Here I go. Oh, I'm a
Oh.
mess. My hair is just... whatever. It's not a fashion show.
That's okay. I'm sure someone will still hit on you. I
No,
have to
it's
say,
more... look at the old ladies.
whatever.
I guess last week somebody was like, oh, it looks like a meeting of the feminist debate club. I'm like, well, thank you. What the fuck? That's supposed to be some kind of insult? Because, boy, that didn't work, troll.
One of my. I found out something today that I did not know.
What?
I did not know that. Oh, what is his name? Because he just changed his first name. The individual who starred in Juno
Yeah.
came out as trans.
Yep.
I did not know that until today.
Yeah. Well, it just happened today.
Oh, well, that explains all of that then. Well, it's like, oh, well, in that case, never mind. I thought it was something that happened a little early. I've been so involved in politics, but no. Another friend of mine. The reason that brought up is because another friend of mine came out trans this summer, and it just brought it up. But they posted. He posted the 10 richest pastors by net worth, and I'm just like, and I'm just looking at it. It's like, some of these individuals. It's like I found out that Joel Osteen drives a Ferrari,
Mm-hmm.
and that almost made the stick. And then it's like, nope, we're going to stick with the politics side today. Because I'm already going to be trashing evangelicals already, so I figured don't beat up on them twice.
You let everything get you so down. Like, you need to spend time on those positive news sites.
I just need to stop looking at the news. That would probably make me feel a
No,
lot
you
better.
just can filter your news and not let one person make you hate the entire world every time you read something bad. It's not healthy.
I know my therapist tells me the same thing. It's like maybe you should stop. And it's like, yeah, no. It's like there's this compulsion that I have to know what's going on in the world, and then it's like then I read what's going on in the world, and I go, ugh.
Right, but you're choosing negative sources. It's not like everything in the world is terrible.
I know
It's
not
really
everything
not.
I know, but what my news is I am so involved in politics, and I am so politic oriented. Politics are kind of my go-to, and unfortunately there's a lot of negativity right now in politics. So I know I need to branch out. I do. And it's like I have like David Burns's website on my, like, I can click on it instantaneously and I'm right there at it, and I need to do that more and look at happy news. Like I
And
followed
even in
Greta.
politics, I mean, look at positive, petitions that behave well and do good things. It does exist, and when we elect like record numbers of LGBT people and
Yeah.
women.
Well, I mean, that's why the carrot is what it is this week, is because, it's like, look, part of the reason we did the carrot is to point out
Yeah,
when people we don't agree with do things that we should be called out for, and
yeah,
that has really kept me going as those individuals, because I was really worried about that, and they've proven my faith in humanity, and it's been a good thing.
well, that's
So
not how you post on the Facebook, let me tell you.
I
It's like
know
you're giving
it's
up on everybody all the time over every little negative incident.
I'm over
People are
dramatic.
trash, people are awful, people are terrible. It's just reinforcing that. Words have power.
I need to be better. I know. I need to be better. So I will be better. That is, if anything, 2020 it's just been rough, and 2020 should have taught me to be at least a better outlet. So, but yes, you are
Okay.
correct. I need to be more out. wordly better. So you are correct.
Fake it till you make it. It has validity.
It's true. That's true. All
All
right.
right, well,
Uh,
we're up and live and ready to go.
all right. You start us.
All right. I'm looking at one more thing. I think I'm going to hit
Okay.
record here, just in case. Real integrity is doing the right thing, knowing that nobody's going to know whether you did it or not. Oprah Winfrey.
Better is the poor man who walks in his integrity than a rich man who is crooked in his ways. Proverbs 28:6. Let's talk about the after election shenanigans.
Welcome to Heresy and Hearsay, a podcast to reclaim faith in the context of political discussion. I am September, and you can follow me on Twitch and Twitter at 9 of 12, and hear me on the Geek Grills podcast. Heresy and Hearsay has a Patreon site that you can find at patreon.com/heresy and hearsay. And you can visit there to help support us. Just $2 a month goes a long way to help us make this humble show. You can also contribute with bits in Twitch or subscribe for free if you have Amazon Prime. With that, here's the man with the word about the word, Reverend Barney.
Salutations, true believers. I'm Reverend Barney, and you can follow me on Twitter at SethRothII. You can also follow the show on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and any podcast catcher. Just look for us at Heresy and Hearsay. Please like, share, and subscribe to us. Also, give us a review that helps others find us. We also have a website that you can find us and listen to our past shows. You can find our bios there as well, and just go to heresyandhearsay.com. And joining me back from her work with the Biden Harris campaign is my co-host that I am so glad is back, because those weeks without you was just, I could not do the show without you, September. Let me just tell you, I am so grateful that you were here, because when I would try to get into the weeds about the show or about the political side of it, I felt so completely lost without you. So
Oh,
I want to thank you
I'm
for,
sorry, but the work had to be done.
and I appreciate all the work you did and everything else. I also want to let you know, in case you didn't know, we do have a new Patreon. I had mentioned this in the shows before this, but I wanted to, while you were here, also mention that we do have a new Patreon. Her name is Christy, and she has joined the congregation, and we're very grateful for her patronage, and it helps us a great deal.
Hi,
And
Christy.
there, yeah. And also, though I'm not using it tonight because I found out that my headphones, so I could listen to September, is broken. So I had to buy new headphones. That we also got a donation for a new microphone set for me. From a friend of the show, Jeanette, and she has gotten me a really nice microphone setup, which I know you have been wanting me to get a really nice microphone setup, and she donated that to the show. So I wanted to give another shout out to her while you were here as well.
Hooray, Jeanette.
That
Hooray,
being said,
upgrades.
yay
Eventually,
upgrades!
we'll
Yeah,
have video of you. That'll be great.
yeah, yeah, it'd be great. Yeah, that's going to require a new computer, and right now there are house problems at my house right now, so that's going to take a backseat for a little bit. That being said, right now, so I've been off after the election. I needed to take a break, and I should have actually taken a break from reading the news, uh, because it would have probably done my mental health a lot better, but I didn't. Um, but so, as you probably are aware, though the election was over and basically a lot of the states were not having much problems as far as counting their votes, we didn't I was so worried we were going to have an I kept waking up in the middle of the night with cold sweats of Florida 2000. I don't know if you were having that fear or not initially.
No,
when the well, I'm glad.
it wasn't that close.
No, it wasn't, but the counting and everything, I was just really like, I kept having flashbacks of the Florida recount, and I'm just like, I can't live through that again, man. I can't go through that again. Um, but it wasn't that close. But there was still a lot of lawsuits that came through, and how would you describe the legal machinations of the Trump legal team, September? I'm going to let you give your opinion first on this.
I have a hard time understanding why bother throw all that money at it or even try to. Even Trump's legal team kept kind of bailing out of that situation. Uh, it's that was the scariest part for me. The disrespect for our peaceful transition of power and the traditions of that in the American system. Um, just no, 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 no. This you don't do that. And the legal challenges, none of them had a leg to stand on. There was only one place where it was even close enough to warrant a recount. But knowing a lot about the election systems and even in different states, the random audits, the observation, the systems they use, it was just absurd, tantrumy. I don't. Trying to tie it up in the courts is a tactic that the administration has been trying to prepare for, but our judicial system doesn't work that way, and getting any of this sort of thing to the Supreme Court with so little evidence just isn't going to happen. Um, so yeah, I'm not all that concerned about any of the legal challenges. I actually got some amusement out of it, truly. I mean, as actual attorneys were like, no. And actual courts going, yeah, we're not looking at this. I mean, the absurdity grew and grew, and where they did go ahead and recount things here and there, I found this great meme I sent. I sent it privately. I didn't post it publicly, but I did send it to all of my Jewish friends. It was like he turned one day of losing into 18 days of losing. It's like Republican Hanukkah. Uh,
Oh, that is
and I
you are.
think it's Wisconsin that like just yesterday they did another count that was
Mm-hmm.
forced, and guess who gained votes? Biden netted votes. I mean,
they
the
they yeah.
conspiracy feeding is terrible. And that's the only serious concern I have about the lawsuits, because when you file a lawsuit, whether or not it's rightful, people have short attention spans. They
Yeah.
only read headlines. They think if there's a lawsuit, if it's in the court, it must be legitimate. If there's a law about it, like it must, if there's a room for complaint, it legitimizes it just by, or it's an attempt to legitimize a claim just by taking it to court. And it
Right.
feeds these conspiracy theory people who are all on Parler right now, actually, and some in law enforcement, talking about going out and just killing as many Democrats as they can. And in their minds, they believe something, well, it got to the court, so there must be some legitimacy, and then it's a big plot and conspiracy and shadow government and all that bullshit. Instead of actually understanding, well, no, when courts throw stuff out, it's because it doesn't meet a certain bar.
Right. Especially when it's thrown out. I've posted a couple of videos from a channel I watch, which is, it's not a channel you would think that I would watch, but it's called Legal Eagle, where he basically goes over different lawsuits and stuff like this, or goes over legal stuff. And I'm like, I was never going to be a lawyer, but I find it fascinating how he covers this stuff and explains it. And he explained in one of the videos about what with prejudice means when something is dismissed. Basically, it means that you can't resubmit this and you can't amend this lawsuit is the basis of what that means. So that Pennsylvania situation where it was thrown out with prejudice means that even if you were to edit this, even if you were to you know correct or fix the complaint, the complaint still has no merit and therefore would not be viewed again because there is no standing whatsoever for this to even be to work. So they had absolutely no standing in the court of law. Uh, they had in the federal court in Pennsylvania, and
And even if you believe that, I don't know, people think lawyers are all just, bad and evil, and the level of lawyers in these situations. Imagine if it had merit. The
Mhm.
notoriety that would be gained by an attorney for finding that justice and getting the votes counted or getting some thrown out and then their guy wins, and that attorneys are going, uh, no, I'm not even going in there, says something itself.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, if it had merit, every lawyer because it would basically be a way to make a name for themselves. I mean, that's one of the reasons why we know people's names like like not Ben Shapiro. Oh my God, Johnny Cochran. We know
Mm-hmm.
the name of Johnny Cochran. We know his name, because of he took the case for OJ, and he won that case. We know their names in that because it was a landmark case. Win, lose, or draw, their names were going to be known. So if this was going, and again, we know who Rudy Giuliani is, but we've known who that is anyways.
Yeah.
We know who I don't even remember her name that was throwing out the conspiracy theories about the Dominion voting machines. I've forgotten her name. But she was also the one that was basically saying Hugo Chavez made sure that the Democrats win this election, though Hugo Chavez has been dead since 2013. And I'm just like, oh my God, why is she up there talking of, and when you get
Yeah.
fired she got fired on Twitter of all places, I'm just like, but it's this presidency. So, what I expect, but I'm just like, but it's one of those situations where, as far as the legal side of this, um, what they're saying in press conferences versus what they're saying in the actual courtrooms are two completely different things because they are not claiming fraud in these court cases. Because when you go into court, you you have a certain level that you have to claim without getting into trouble. And
Mm-hmm.
none of these lawsuits have been about actual fraud. They have been like the one in Pennsylvania basically was about the fact, the one in the federal court was about the fact how in one county they were allowed to basically fix their ballots, while in another county didn't allow people to fix their ballots. And that is a county in the state of Pennsylvania, that is a county by county decision. And what they were basically saying is, well, that's not fair and that shouldn't be allowed. But that's how the law was written and that's how the law was allowed by the Republican Party that was running the state house in Pennsylvania, is to allow these counties to allow that. And more importantly, these voters who did not get their votes to be changed were Trump voters. While in the other counties that they were basically wanting to be thrown out, the ones that got to fix to what's known as cure their ballots, and I'm going to ask you to explain that in a second. but to cure their ballots was in basically Democratic strongholds. And they were complaining about that fact, but that's just how the state law was written, is that the counties could make the decision if there was going to be a way that voters could cure their ballots or not. Now, September, can you explain, because you've worked on that side of the
What
elections and
ballot
everything.
curing is?
Yeah, what ballot curing is.
Ballot curing is something that comes into play with mail-in ballots. It doesn't generally in person. There is a small portion of it that can happen in person that I can also explain. But for mail-in ballots, and every state's a little bit different, but it's basically if your ballot is rejected for some reason, there's a chance to make the correction. Especially in vote by mail always, you should mail early, not at the last possible day, because it gives a window for the Board of Elections to let you know that this needs to be cured. North Carolina, actually, is one of the highest paper ballot refusal states in the Union, and that's in the past been because it was very, very hard to cast a mail ballot in some ways, and even to request it, you used to have a notary to witness. They did make it much easier this year to, you could just have a witness. Anyone over 18 could just sign as your witness. But if they wrote, and they signed that on the outside of the envelope saying, we saw them fill this out. They don't have to see how you vote, but just basically you have a witness. That way it prevents fraud, because it's a second person signing on, which is much more difficult than filling out and pretending you're someone else. It's the same effect as having a notary, basically. But if your witness doesn't write their address as well on the line for their address, the ballot would be refused before they even open the envelope. It's invalid because it was not properly witnessed. That's the most common ballot refusal. There are other things like filling out, two bubbles in one category and they can't determine your intent, not signing your ballot, not signing your envelope, things like that. So curing a ballot is an opportunity where the Board of Elections can reach out in some cases. In some cases, they are not allowed. For instance, in North Carolina during this election, some of you might have seen it going back and forth, and we were having to call people and explain this over and over because Republicans tried to step in. The Board of Elections had the law in North Carolina set up so that if something was wrong with your ballot, you would be mailed instructions with an affidavit stating, yes, this is me, this was my ballot, to send back to the Board of Elections so they could count your vote. The Republicans took it to court, and temporarily there was an injunction where a judge said, okay, the Board of Elections is not allowed to send you that affidavit or notify you. It's up to the voter to check on it, make sure it was counted, call, check the website, however they need. They're supposed to follow up on their ballot. No one's allowed to tell them. And so things like people like me working for the party and the campaign were calling everyone who had cast their ballot by mail and, hey, we understand you requested your ballot. Did you get it? Did you fill it out? Did you have a witness sign it? Did they write their name on it? And trying to determine for ourselves if it had been accepted until it got in the system, and help them cure ballots. And that was one of the driving forces for the Democrats even finally starting to go door to door to actually find people and help them get their ballot corrected and back to the board election on time so their vote would be counted. It was part of the 12-day extension that, or it wasn't 12 days, it was until November 12th they were counting ballots as long as they had been mailed by election day, as far as they could determine, because it was giving time to cure those ballots. The restrictions were eventually lifted, so the Board of Elections was able to let people know, hey, something's wrong with your ballot, here's how you fix it. But the Republicans seriously tried to take that away and make it harder for those votes to get counted. And there are reasons they would think that would work, because the kind of votes are generally not in their favor, that need to be corrected, that may have had an address changed in the middle, people that have more difficulty getting a witness, who have maybe less literacy level to be able to follow any complicated instructions on them. Excuse me. The time it takes to get things in and out of care facilities with all that going on. So, we worked really hard to cure every ballot, and the bottom line is every single vote should always be counted. These were legitimate votes. And the Trump administration was trying to say, well, no, I'm winning, stop counting. You shouldn't count these ones, they're late. When a lot of times it was something like a simple clerical error, or in some states they actually do match your signature. And so you would have to provide ID after the fact if your signature didn't match the last one they had on file, which can happen with any number of reasons, age, name change, health. But they were just trying to delegitimize perfectly legitimate votes. And I love the term cure. I think it's a perfect term for curing a ballot.
So, and that's why I wanted kind of that explanation, and because that was basically the crux of the argument in the biggest, I think, as far as the court case that we know of, because of the fact that they basically wanted to throw out like 7 million votes because of the curing issue. And I wanted kind of that like understanding.
Yeah,
And
it's determining they're legitimate. It was trying to find a loophole. It seems like a very obvious, underhanded tactic to me, to base a lawsuit on that, because they couldn't find enough fraud that would make a difference in the election, because it didn't happen.
right. In fact, Barr just came out today and said there was not enough fraud that would have changed the election. He
And
just
by a
came out.
lot, there wasn't.
Yeah, yeah.
The margins are just, it's not
Eh,
there. But they
yeah.
desperately tried to find one by delegitimizing perfectly good votes.
And I would be remiss in not saying this, and you can agree or disagree with me, but a lot of the places where they were focusing their attention were heavily minority or heavily urban cities with minority groups that were
Oh,
in
that's
them.
standard. Yeah.
Yeah. Like
I mean,
Atlanta. Yeah.
mm-hmm. It's where
Yeah.
the voter intimidation happens too. I've worked in voter protection and we recruit people for that. I know attorneys who do that for the party, and we know which precincts to watch for the trouble to happen. Sadly,
Yeah. Eh, yeah.
voter
I
intimidation is real, folks. All you privileged folks who are like, oh no, it's not really a thing. Oh, people aren't that racist and people would never. No, it happens still. Every day.
yeah.
Every day.
Yeah, and it doesn't have to be someone coming up to somebody. It could be just simply a group of people standing out there with their in a pickup truck or just a vehicle with their arms crossed, and they look a certain way or they're dressed a certain way, and that's enough in some cases. They could be wearing a certain outfit or whatever,
I
and it.
have had,
Mhm.
during this election, we had to get attorneys involved and report people who worked at boards of elections. Pulling
Really.
stuff. Oh, yeah. Over in Rowan, at least 2 or 3 instances in this one week where um, we had someone who volunteered with us go to drive up uh, curbside voting with her son, and they just kept mispronouncing her son's name over and over and misspelling it back to him, which doesn't make any sense. The document's in their hand, basically trying to push for identification, which is not required. Um,
Right.
and she stood up as much as she can, but it was very intimidating. It was an election official, and then she cast her vote, and they eventually let her son cast his ballot, but she did not have confidence it had been counted, and so went to the Board of Elections website to look it up, and indeed her son's vote had not been counted. The ballot wasn't showing, and we had to get voter protection attorneys involved.
Mm.
Like, she was too intimidated to have that fight in the parking lot.
Right.
But the tactics were obvious, and these were people of color, of course. I mean, and people, and why are you doing curbside, not walking in? I mean, we had folks with their Confederate flags and their MAGA hats walking around in parking lots and walking up to cars and telling them they actually had to go park somewhere else, which wasn't true, but then following them over and handing them a slate card. This is you who you have to vote for.
Yeah, that's definitely in voter intimidation. But I mean, you look at the canvassing board, like up in Detroit, up in that the Broward County, or not Broward, but up in Detroit, where two of the members of the county were initially refused to even certify the election because they were Republicans at the time, and both of them were brought out as, they had some very less than favorable things to say about minorities on their social media, and all of that was brought out. And I don't know if you agree with public shaming or not, but it worked for these public officials, and they changed their minds, and it's like, yep, it's legitimate and everything, and they changed their minds and they certified the election up in the Detroit
I like
area.
to have laws and regulations in place so that these things you could deal with them just legitimately. I mean,
Well,
it shouldn't have to be from shame, because I don't think it helps to look like they were just pressured into it. If they're treated professionally and it's like their jobs, and if you have boards and administrators set up so that there are different parties and nonpartisan people involved, it can
right.
prevent that shit in the first place.
Yeah, my problem with that whole setup is it was 2 and 2. And I was like, well, okay, fine, that's great, but when you get something like this, then there's a deadlock, and you can't undeadlock that.
Hmm.
And that's where I understand what you're saying, and
Well,
they
I
were
mean, you just
trying to.
change the law so that it's automatically certified by the fucking math.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. The math says, I agree, but and so, but we would also not be doing ourselves justice if we didn't also have a little fun. So let's talk about the Four Seasons.
Landscaping.
Uh, the Four Seasons press conference that was actually the Four Seasons landscaping.
I mean, holy shit. If anyone wants this guy to continue to run our country and his staff makes a mistake like that? Like, that's not just some event. Do you go to, like, whatever list, neighbors.com, and find an event planner for your fucking presidential announcement, and they don't know Four Seasons Landscaping isn't like the Marriott Garden Hotel. It's not a hotel.
I mean, look, here's the thing. If you initially say Four Seasons Hotel and then realize they're not going to have it at the Four Seasons, find another hotel. Just don't change it, to any Four Seasons. I mean, really. I mean, like, it's like,
I mean,
I'm
it's the
sorry.
first thing that came up when they Googled. Is that the best event planner they could find? Like, who was the person that booked it? Were they a mole? Maybe they were a clever mole. And one of the best memes I saw was somebody was like, "Let's look at the real hero right now is the guy at Four Seasons Landscaping who answered the phone and said, 'Yeah, sure.'"
Well, they're having. I read an article afterwards. They're having to sell merchandise now for that.
Oh yeah.
I was like, why not? Yeah.
Apparently, I've seen their statements. They're like, "Yeah, we thought it was a prank." I don't know, man. And how could the Trump team, not make the pivot? Because they will never admit a mistake. And
No, they
that
will.
in itself is shit leadership. Rob and I actually went to trivia at the brewery.
Right.
And he named our team Four Seasons Landscaping. And it like disrupted the entire game at one point because it was almost over. We usually go late. We don't want to be around a bunch of people. We don't care about winning. And our friend Sean came in and already had a few beers in or something apparently. And so they announced a scoring update. And when she said our name, he just, what? Oh my God! Who is that? Who is that? Like, you're just yelling around the room trying to find out who hit that team name. And he looks at us and I'm like, duh. And he laughed so hard and was so disruptive. The hostess had to explain to the room why it was funny. Which was, mwah, in my little
Chef
red
kiss.
town to have
Chef
that
kiss.
happen.
Okay, so here's a couple of other things. First off, it's across the street from a crematorium. It's just more, and then it's next door to an adult bookstore. I'm just like, but the cream on the top, the kind of the little bit of sprinkles of deliciousness on top is that they had to have a convicted pedophile at that press conference as well. And I'm just like, with the QAnon stuff being all about Trump trying to fight,
Right?
the the pedophiles and stuff, to have that there is just this like little bit of extra sprinkles on top of my delicious kissness. Chef kiss is just absolutely glorious. And I'm just going, how do you work that around QAnon? How do you work that? How do you, I am not as, I used to be like a bit of a conspiracy theorist about a couple of things like the JFK thing. And I've kind of gotten over that as I've like become an adult, because I watched the JFK movie and everything else. And it's like, oh, I can see how that totally is. And I'm not that anymore. But I'm like, now I'm like, how I can't wrap my brain how you work that interlogic and into it and everything. So,
I mean, what is
it's
their
very,
take on that? Did
yeah.
they decide it was on purpose?
I don't know. Oh, as far as the pedophile, I don't know.
Well,
Maybe
no. As far as like having
Oh
that
no.
press
Oh, it
conference
was.
there.
Oh, that press con. Oh yeah, it was told because they what the as far as that is concerned is because they needed a more secure location because there was so much bedlam, with all of the people out and about in Philadelphia, basically celebrating the victory. According to
Okay.
them, that they needed a
Except he
secure
tweeted
location.
it.
Yeah, except like they completely.
Like,
And
45 tweeted it himself and didn't catch it. Brilliant.
yeah,
I don't know what
and
this other thing is you referred to in the notes.
As far as the meltdown press
Yeah.
conference, I'm talking about Rudy Giuliani melting in front of the press conference and
Oh,
leaking
okay.
whatever he was leaking all over the
Unfortunate
place.
hair dye situation. He
And
must use the spray stuff.
I didn't even know they still sold the spray stuff. But then I found out earlier this week that George Clooney uses the Flowbee for his hair cutting. So
Sure.
yeah, he was on. I know this is off topic for a second, but I found out he was on Sunday morning talking to Kathy Lee Gifford, and he was talking about how he's been cutting his hair for the last 25 years using a Flowbee.
Cool.
And I'm
Good to
like,
know it works. It's really
well,
interesting.
with his hair, I could see how it would be actually very easy to keep that hairstyle with that. So I'm like, well, okay, well, sure, why not? But no, I didn't know they still sold the hair canned hairspray. I'm like, okay,
It's all
yeah,
of the show. Well, it's the same shit that's on the shelves at Halloween.
yeah. But you would think someone who's getting paid $20,000 a day could afford real hair dye.
Yeah, but you wouldn't want that to get out in the press, right?
They're high. They're hypocrites, anyways. It wouldn't really matter to them. You can't shame them with hypocrisy. We've tried that. I mean, the whole court thing with what's her face, the the handsmaid Supreme Court justice, that didn't work when we tried to shame them with hypocrisy. So hypocrisy doesn't work against them. So,
Nope.
but no, I'm just. But that whole press conference with all the conspiracy theories and everything, that was just all kinds of insane. And they gave absolutely. That's where I was talking about, where she came up and said that that the dictator from that had been dead since 2013
Yeah.
basically orchestrated. And I'm just going, I'm I don't think that's how that works. Unless he's a very unless you're telling me ghosts can do that, which at that point I've got some questions for you and your belief systems. But
Yeah.
and then something about releasing the Kraken. I just okay. But so basically, at last check, there has been basically 40 different legal challenges, and they've won exactly one of them and lost 39 of them. And that's not helpful. That's not good. That's
Nope.
that's flooding the system, and it's like what you said, it's dangerous because basically it does what you say it's doing. Is it's feeding the conspiracy, it's feeding the radicals on that
It's
side.
undermining confidence in our democracy.
Hmm. And I think
It's
that's part of the
exactly what he swore he would not do. He was supposed
whatever.
to uphold the Constitution, and instead,
He
no.
was, but we saw this coming back in what, June, when they were talking about mail-in ballots. Then, how
Mm-hmm.
he was already saying that he didn't trust them and everything else.
Yeah.
So he was already setting up this groundwork. Here's the thing, and I'm going to be honest. If this had been closer, I think this would have been more of a danger. But this wasn't close as far as the states that mattered. It wasn't close in Georgia, really. It wasn't close in Pennsylvania. Wasn't close in Arizona. And it's like, we should have won Arizona. I'm like, I'm surprised you were even as close as you were in Arizona, as much as you trashed one of their biggest heroes. As much as you trashed John McCain
Mm-hmm.
over the 4 years of your presidency. And he is considered a hero in that state. Whether good, bad, or indifferent, whether what you think of him as a person, as a politician, he is considered a hero in that state. And how much is he trashed John McCain in that state? No. uh, I'm surprised it was as close as it was in the
Mm-hmm.
state of Arizona. And I know why. One of the reasons why he pardoned Alpero, or whatever his name is, the sheriff, is because he was trying to win favor back after being so ruthless against John McCain because that sheriff is also considered a hero in that state, but not to the level that John McCain was. So that's why he pardoned him when he did,
Mm-hmm.
is because he was trying to win that favor back. It's a strategic thing, and I could see that a mile away. But yeah, like I said, I'm surprised Arizona was as close as it was. But none of the states were close enough to where legal challenges would have made any differences. So I'm grateful for that. You know, I think if it had been closer, we might have had more of a problem. That's just my take on it, but I'm glad it wasn't. I'm glad that this was as big of an election as it was, and that so many people came out and went like, "No, we're rejecting you. We reject you." You know,
Yeah.
and there were, and I think that's the big thing is a lot of people rejecting the just Joe Biden is a good candidate. I like Joe. He is not my first pick because of the fact that I'm as progressive as I am. And I think Joe is not progressive enough for my tastes. But Joe is not a bad person. He is not a bad candidate. He is a good person at heart. And, you know, with all of his mistakes and stuff like that, they're silly mistakes. And for the most part, and he has grown as a human being, and he has changed as a human being, and has proven he has changed as a human
Sorry.
being. And I agree, and so I think that we'll see some change as far as that's concerned. But a lot of this was also a rejection of just this hateful politics, and I think they base the nation as a whole. And I was more upset. I'm less upset now as things have settled down. I that there was a sound rejection towards the negative and just this hatefulness that Trump was bringing to the White House.
Mm-hmm.
But that doesn't mean that there hasn't been other problems. I do want to bring up the fact that there are a lot of people of quote unquote faith that are just, I don't understand it. And I'm just, so what about the faithful side? Because, oh boy.
Don't you blaspheme in here. Don't you blaspheme in here.
So you may have saw pictures of this and everything else. And this really bothered me. First off, the spiritual advisor of Trump after the first couple of days of the election and her prayer. That was. Did you see that prayer?
No. I was reading about it, though, from the notes earlier. Good gracious. What?
You should watch it on YouTube
I.
because it is
No.
horrible.
Jeez.
It is. It is. It is. I have. I have. I have been to Pinnacle. I have. I will say this as raised Baptist in a Baptist church. I have never once seen anybody speak in tongues.
Oh, I
In a
have.
Baptist, not in a Baptist church. It's a
I
thing
have in
that
a Christian evangelical situation.
I have seen people speak in tongues at a Pentecostal church. I'm not saying I haven't seen it. I have a problem with it because according there, if there's someone translating, then I take it more okay because that's the way it's supposed to work. Is there's supposed to be somebody speaks in tongues and somebody's supposed to translate. That's how it's supposed to work. At least my understanding of the gifts. I have never seen that actually work like it's supposed to. So
I
that's
I'm not going to talk about this in public, but I will tell you a story later.
okay.
And I
That's
have
fine.
seen a wonderful, wonderful mashup I'll find of this woman. People have made creatively done some wonderful things with the visual
I,
of this prayer.
I've seen some great mashups
Okay.
myself. Yeah, I've seen so, but I'm just like, and her praying for the angels of Africa. I saw a TikToker. I love TikTok has been a saving grace in this time. I can see why Trump wanted to ban it because it has been so bad for him. But I saw this TikToker is like pretending to be an African angel is like, we got our own problems. What are you? No, we're not coming. No, he called us asshole countries. No, go away. It's just like, but um, her just it was just when I pray, and I'm getting into my fundamentals of my Christianity here for a second. When I pray for guiding hands,
Mm-hmm.
for wisdom, for I never ask for like for them. I ask for like for the election, for example. I don't ask for a specific outcome per se. I ask that the nation find wisdom and find their heart and find what it means to be a good person and good people and vote for the person that brings the best for those people who are downtrodden.
Well,
When I pray for leaders, I pray that they find wisdom and that they find the best outcomes that would help the most people, that it is not, and I pray for peace and I pray for that kind of stuff.
so you have an
That's
entirely different tone
right.
when you pray than in real life.
Yeah. Hold on a second. I'm sorry. I have a
Okay.
sinus infection and it's drink.
Okay. I'm working on an audio problem, so that's fine.
Okay. I'm sorry.
A viewer let me know, so I was trying to fix that. No, it's just Streamlabs and OBS use different settings for different things, and I think it's picking up my stupid camera audio again. There's not much I can do about it.
Okay.
So that's fun. Yeah. No, it's the software. Trust me. All right, I think I got it. Mm-hmm. Right. Hold on. No, Commander Meerkat. See, now it's worse. I'd rather be echoing than have this. I'm going to have to change the setting again.
Okay.
Okay. Because you weren't heard. Basically, to use the desktop audio, I echo and I can't fix it, but using just my mic, I sound fine and you don't sound like anything. No, he wasn't AFK. He's been speaking. And I didn't know. All I could see is a tiny registering, which was been my picking it up because I could hear Barney in my headphones. And I was like, he's not loud enough in the stream, and it's not only that, the stream wasn't picking it up. So anyway, we get to get how you pray and stuff, so.
Great! Well, at least they'll be on the podcast version.
Yeah. Well, no, I mean, it'll be, we got that, I said. What do you...
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
We're fine. We'll just have to... I'll sound echoey on the podcast. It's not that big a deal.
Okay. Whatever. That's fine. Whatever. But so yeah, that was that whole picture just kind of like crystallized everything, and I'm just like, yeah, I personally, it doesn't matter if I have 2 viewers, if I have 13 viewers, if we have whatever. I want to get this message out as many times and as much as possible. This is not what Christianity is about. This is not what we're supposed to do. And especially in the realms of politics. Mm-hmm. It's okay to be guiders. It's okay to listen. It's okay to be mentors in the political realms. But when we go to this extreme to where we basically have followers basically praying to a golden man baby for which is absolutely also just the opulence and everything. There is a picture of Donald Trump sitting on a golden throne in a room of nothing but gold around him. And these are the people, and Christians are praying for this man, to this man, basically. That he, they're claiming to be praying to God, but they're not. They're praying to him, and they have made him his golden calf. They've made Trump, he has become the crystallization of their golden calf that they've been praying to. And I don't know that will change when he passes away, because he is immortal and mortals die. If that passes on to his family as a whole, if they have his charisma, which I don't think they do, or if he becomes their saint at that point. Reagan for a while was sainted by the Republican Party, but they have moved so far from Reagan that Reagan is almost a liberal compared to where we are as far as the GOP is concerned today. That it's... Do you see where I am as far as my pain as a Christian, or my pain as a person of faith, and seeing these kind of happenings when this was going down?
Sure. I mean, I understand. I empathize. It's hard to watch people that purport to share your belief system behave in an appalling manner.
Yeah.
It's undermining the very truth of your common reality.
Yeah. And like I said, to me, it's like watching, it's like Moses coming down and seeing the Israelites praying to the golden calf, and you're just like, what? No. I've just been up there for 40 days talking to God, and you've created what? Yeah, that's how I feel when I look at
Sure.
those pictures. Is basically that I'm not Moses. I'm not even don't I'm not saying that at all. But it's that I can understand where Moses comes from at that point. It's like I would have thrown down the uh the Ten Commandments
Mm-hmm.
myself. I would have been that upset. I understand where he was at that point. So let's talk about the Million MAGA March for a second.
Okay.
Did you see any of the reporting about that?
No.
Okay. So the Million MAGA March was
Whoa.
supposed to be a march that was supposed to say, hey, look at all these people and how many people support Trump and how this election was being stolen from us. And it was about 20,000 people. That was the largest estimate. It was anywhere from I heard 5 and I'm say I don't think that I think that was unfair. I'm
Right.
I'm thinking more 20, but there was also some counter protesters. Mostly it was Proud Boys, and it was mostly there was a lot of Trump flags and Confederate flags and Proud Boys and stuff like that.
Uh-huh.
And I'm just like, so these are your supporters are basically white nationalists.
Well, yeah.
So, your diehard supporters. So and these are the people you're proud of. That are supporting you or that are out in the street because, Kellyanne McEnany, no,
What?
came out there and it was like, look at the look at the million MAGAs. And it's like,
Not not
you're,
anywhere.
you're coming out as the White House press corps. It's the White House press corps as the White House spokesperson.
Right.
And you're praising racists.
Well, that's been
That
going on for a while.
I'm just, yeah, but I'm just like, it hurts. It's like, that's not what we should be doing.
It's
This is,
amazing
yeah.
how many people don't even realize that's happening.
And I just want to point it out. This is what's happening. They're praising that Trump is basically embracing as much as he claim or as much as they're claiming he's not. He's embracing the racists. And mm, yeah, I know. I wanted to point that out. And the last thing I wanted to do real quick is point out how long it took. And this is more in your wheelhouse, but I wanted to point out how long it took for the money to be released for the transition.
Oh boy. And my understanding is, and I've been meaning to look into this, that they're actually allocating money somewhere else where the transition team won't even be able to get to it later on. A whole lot of it, which is a problem. Like, that's actually interfering with our governance.
And here's the we are dealing with a global pandemic
Mm-hmm.
with the number of cases rising daily.
Yeah.
And we're having to transition from one group to another, from one administration to another.
Yeah, and there's a
And
normal process in place that. I mean, it's national security that's dealt with as
right,
well.
while other nations are trying to because they're trying to have to do lockdowns again because it's flaring up all over because it is getting colder and it is a virus and viruses thrive better in cold weather in general and everything. And they've talked about that, how this virus stays in the airborne longer in colder temperatures. So yeah, it's one of those situations where you go, what, it's like, and then they're basically blocking any chance for that kind of transition so that when January 21st comes up, they can't hit the ground running.
Right.
And and on January 22nd that the leaders of the GOP are going to be all over the Biden campaign or all over Biden about why he hasn't
Yeah, it's
cured
okay. He just kind of moved on it anyway.
It's like why he hasn't suddenly cured the coronavirus on his first day in office,
Yeah.
That's going to happen. That all of this is going to be laid at Biden's feet as
Yeah.
soon as he walks in that door.
Yeah. Well, they'll try.
I know. So, but everybody, I've read, there's been a lot of pieces, and I've seen a lot of pieces where they've talked about it, it's like, be prepared for this because this is going to happen. So be ready for when they do this. So that being said, there's still, I didn't know that they were still finding ways to block that money. I didn't realize that was still going on.
Yeah, but it's only a certain amount. I mean, the pieces are in place. The transition is actually happening. The election has been certified by the authority to release some of that. And Biden just kept, he was recruiting people for the transition team. I was invited to apply for jobs in the transition team, in the inaugural team. Even lowly employees, field organizers like me, have been getting constant communication for available positions in the administration going forward. So,
wow, look at you! You could be up at working in Washington D.C.
Yeah, I doubt that's gonna happen, but
it's like, float my name.
I mean, I might take it. So.
Hey, float my name by if they need any religious advisors. Just let you know.
Sure.
I've always wanted to work at.
I mean, you figure they had to vet the fucking show. Both of my shows.
Really? You think they had to?
Oh, well, yeah, we had to share as when we applied all of our social media stuff.
Oh, I did not know that.
Look at it. And I was like, what if it's like explicit content? And they're like, well, it depends what you mean by explicit. I'm like, well, I mean, it's not like nudies, but I swear a lot. They're like, it's probably fine. But like if you were out trashing certain, like if you and I had been trashing all over Biden or something, they're like, you should maybe scrub that.
Yeah, I will be. I will never trash it. I try not to trash anybody, but I will be critical of those on my and try to push them. But I won't trash anybody. Mm-hmm. But it's it's like, well, that's okay. So, wow, I did not know we got vetted. That's a new thing.
Well, I did.
It
wasn't new for me. I was vetted as a delegate a couple of times. They just had to update because I hadn't been vetted in a while. Any government positions or campaign positions, well, some campaigns are too stupid to vet people, and that's why we get really great stories sometimes to talk about. But
yeah.
Whenever you work on anything to do with a national campaign, you get vetted.
Yeah. Oh, okay. I will keep that in mind. I'm sure that will be entertaining when if I ever get vetted I may just need to like completely delete my social media.
Oh, come on. Look at all the stuff. There's pictures of me at like burlesque shows.
Oh yeah, that's true.
They're fine.
Yeah. But so I guess before we get to this week's carrot and stick, Brother Bowie, will you lead us in a word of prayer?
Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. Lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory, forever and ever. Amen.
Amen to that. So the carrot this week, I guess, goes to all the GOP state members in states like Georgia and Arizona that believed more in their job than party and did their jobs. This is what the carrot's for. Excuse me. We want to say good things to those that we may normally disagree with on, whatever decisions they're making politically. But when they're doing the right thing and doing the thing they were elected for, even when we disagree, we want to give them a carrot, give them a treat. When they do what's right, and I mean, they've faced death threats, and just it's been a horrible, contentious situation. But those folks stood up for what was right, making sure every single vote was counted, and we want to thank them.
Yep. I think that's a big deal, because I've been following that, and it's that's one of the things I'm like, yeah, you're a public official, and I may disagree with you on policy, but you have integrity, and I stand up for that. And as far as the stick is concerned, it's all you individuals who are doing the death threats and such like that. For those group of people that claim to be a part of the Christian family, you are not. Christ would never do anything like this. Nothing that is like this is Christ-like. And Christ would never do anything like this. So shame on you. You get the stick. I mean, it's vile.
I gotta get a stick sound effect.
Yeah. Yeah. The only thing I could even think about that would sound even remotely stick-like would be like a whip. But I don't think that would work as well. I don't know. The only thing I could possibly think of, the other thing is like there is a Bugs Bunny cartoon, but that would just so quickly get us in trouble. It is when he's pretending to be Teddy Roosevelt. It's like, well, I talk loud, and I carry even a bigger stick. Yeah, that's like, so. But with that being said, so this is the end of our show. Next week, we will talk about our hopes and what we would like to see in the upcoming administration and everything else. What's currently going on with the transition, what we are excited to see, what we're hoping to see, and everything else. So that's going to be next week's show. With that being said, I want to thank you for joining us at Heresy and Hearsay. I'm Reverend Barney, and you can follow me on Twitter at SethRothII, and you can follow the show on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube, and any podcast, just as well as our website. Just Google us. Don't forget our Patreon, where $2 a month can help us keep going.
I'm September. You can follow me on Twitch and Twitter at 9up12, and hear me on the Geek Grills podcast. Thanks for listening today, and bless your hearts.
Diamond Club hopes you have enjoyed this program.
Okay, so, yeah, I ended up fiddling. Yeah, I know my audio's better now, Meerkat, thanks. I ended up fiddling around in the middle, and it ended up shutting you off. Well, this is so infuriating. But then I did find where I was doubling. It was a completely different part of the mixer in Streamlabs, not my mixer, where it's got a audio thing. Yep. It automatically plugs an audio bar in for my cam. And I didn't even see it because I'm only using the top few audio things. I had to page down to find it and shut it off. Even though I shut it off in Discord, I shut it off on my PC, I shut it off anywhere else, and it should not have been showing up. Streamlabs itself was picking up my webcam mic. So I solved it in this program, but I use a different one for grills so that I don't have to change our Twitch key every time. And the solution is different there. But the problem with you guys not being able to hear the bumpers anymore, but the stream can, is still something that Discord just keeps changing. Well, as far as I can tell.
Well, they need to stop that.
Right? I was so happy the day I logged in. I was like, oh my god, this shit works.
And now it does it again.
Yeah. It's so funny. Yeah, the technical difficulties always happen. It was actually really funny because I'd go to edit the Grills episodes when I was working.
Right.
And not podcasting. And the first 10-15 minutes of every one is Linda doing this and going like, oh my God. And I'm like, I feel so appreciated now, you know, and stuff in the middle of the episode, like, oh my God, shit, Ember, cut that out. Like, and can you, or letting me know, because, I mean, they still didn't have to deal with the editing and stuff, but like, it's not just me. I know I've been doing this for a long time, but it's going to happen. It's going to keep happening. I'm not crazy.
No. The big thing that is, yeah, I got the new microphone and everything, and it works fairly well. I need to. It seems not to be very loud.
Oh, it's weird. Now you're breaking up again.
Oh, hold on.
I'm gonna shut off the stream.
Okay.